of the minutes.
Madam President, I'm raising a point of order on the agenda. I had requested 2 items to be placed on the agenda as action items, and they were on the agenda, but they were on there as information items. It's items 19B1, I think, and 19B2. And so I want, before we get into that, by the way, I did submit the questions in advance, and this is one of the questions that I had submitted in advance. The President's response was that he would provide the responses to the inquiries at the meeting. So that's why I'm raising it now, since I didn't get the response in advance. And it's probably too late to make it turn into action items because of the Brown Act, but I wanted to raise this as a point of order for these particular items and have whatever response it is as to why they were not listed as action items as requested, not only by myself, but for members of the public.
And our counsel can answer that question. So counsel, would you please give us that answer?
Thank you. It is the right of a board member and members of the public. They do have the right to have an item placed on the agenda. However, whether that item is a discussion item or an action item is determined by the President, who sets the agenda. And if the board desires to make a particular item an action item, they certainly could do so. But I will certainly yield to the parliamentarian if the point of order or the way I'm addressing it is in conflict with how you would address it.
May I, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Trustee Aguilar's initial inclination that it would be inappropriate to change an item from an information item to an action item is correct. Once you've noticed the public that the item is going to be an information item, it would be completely inappropriate to change that item to an action item unless 2/3 of the board wish to do so under the impression or with the argument that it's an emergency or that there's some pressing or exigent need to do so. But absent that, it would have to stay an information item.
Yeah, no, I don't view either item as an emergency, so I'm not asking that be done, but just needed for that explanation to come out, both for my benefit and for the benefit of the members of the public who requested at least one of the items be placed on the agenda as an action item. So I appreciate that, and thank you very much for that clarification.
Now we have oral communications.
May I ask a question? There was no motion, but is there discussion on this particular budget calendar right now? I just wanted to point out that there are some discrepancies in the calendar with conflict with Southwestern College's schedule. So,
Madam Chair, from a parliamentary standpoint, the appropriate act would be to wait until that agenda item arrives on the agenda.
Now with oral communications, we will continue with our agenda items here. Persons wishing to... Pardon? Oh, approval of the minutes. I just got carried away.
Move approval of the minutes.
Okay, do I hear a second?
second.
Okay, the second, please vote. Okay, now oral communications for about the third time. Okay, persons wishing to address the governing board should have by now submitted the yellow cards. And an oral presentation to the board does not constitute an open discussion on the presentation topic unless that topic is on the posted agenda. And each person has 3 minutes to give their talk. And so we will begin with Carla Kirkwood.
Hello, Carly's with Johnny. Trustees Salcedo, Dominguez, Roche, Valladolid, Aguilar, Chris, Superintendent President. I'm struggling with this microphone right now. First, I want to start out my statements. I have two things I need to address, but first let me start my statements with, over the years, I've worked with a number of the board members that are sitting here in front of me, and I have to thank you because my relationship with you has been relatively positive. You've never big brothered me, you've never been paternalistic with me, and it's one of the reasons that I've been supported by this district, because I'm an employee of the district. The programs that you have in your international programs are of the quality they are because I feel like I want to serve my district. Having said that, I want to talk about the South Africa program, which is a contract that's right now on the agenda, which is a repeat of the program that we just completed successfully in March and April of this year. We took 17 students. They did a service learning international education project in a township outside of Cape Town, working with a group of Black South African children between the ages of 1 and 4. What we did was games, entertainment, feeding children, holding children, spending time with the teachers, and providing support within the context of that classroom. The program was started because of a collaboration between the ASO, my office, and a group of students who had come to me who had been on semester-long programs, who wanted to be of service and who wanted to work within the context of a third world environment rather than the first sort of European programs you've been sending to semesters abroad. Also, in my partnership with UCSD and San Diego State University, one of the messages that's come down from the EAP program, the Education Abroad program, is the fact that the majority of BAs, both at the UC and the CSU, no longer simply require coursework in order to graduate, but now require a service learning component and an international education component. We were able to provide both of those through this project for 1/4 of what it would cost our students to do it at the four-year institutions, and it was highly successful. Upon our return, we had a forum of 85 students, faculty, and staff from this campus who attended. We created a DVD, which all of you have access to now, and I certainly hope that you put it into your DVD machines and into your computers, because the photography is superb. One of the students, yes, that's it, Nick. One of the students that was on that program served in Iraq in the armed forces as a photojournalist, Rebecca Moat, and she traveled as a student in the program and did excellent photography. Working with Tom Bugzovich, we put together a beautiful 3.5-minute slide showing images of the people that we worked with and the students that we worked with. And a continuation of that project is what is before you on the board today in terms of South Africa. I'm extremely proud of the work that we've done for this district. And I get calls from UC Davis, UC Berkeley, everybody wondering how we did it, as if it should be a surprise. That always sort of bothers me. And I said, send your students down, and then they can explain it to you. So we'll probably have some Berkeley and UC Davis students on the next program. What does that mean?
Thank you.
Better finish. Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
And so one of the things I want to say is that I have been trying to get this message to you for over 4 months now. I've had students organized to come and speak to you about how this has been a life-changing experience for them, about how they are now getting into four-year institutions that they can't, and I haven't been able to get to you, to the board, to share that information. And I'm really sad that you don't get the good news that is sort of being out there, and I don't know why you don't get it. And it's a very deep concern to me. I'm also struggling uphill to try to get the work done in my project because I'm having trouble doing that, and I'm very concerned about that. And I just need to let you know, I'm going to recruit 120 students to our programs in the next 3 semesters. And that's going to bring about $340,000 in FTE to our institution in those 3 semesters. And I'm a solo show running backwards up the street to try to get it done. And I'm still trying to do it. So I need to let you know that because you're the district and you need to know that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You might have some board members want to tag along.
And you know, I think that would be absolutely great. We're actually looking to take more faculty this time, and we're going to be working with child development faculty throughout the area to sort of come along. It's great for all of us. It's not just for the young.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Paul Clay.
I would like to yield to Veronica.
Point of order, Madam. Thought that maybe it was just for that one meeting that we not the procedure to not yield to others, but to have each speaker present their own presentation.
I think Veronica, but she could just have the 3 minutes, not the 6 minutes.
Yeah, but then I'll speak.
I remember it being, I remember it was for that particular meeting, because we had such a large
Yeah.
group. I really don't remember if we took a vote on that. Am I wrong?
Madam Chair, it's inappropriate to allow yielding time. The law even forbids it.
Well,
Oh, it is.
Well, that's that.
Right, then Paul. Paul's like,
Thank you for this opportunity to address you. I'm sure Veronica will try and fit that into the 3 minutes that she will have. I am concerned about the relationship between this educational institution and Blackwater. Blackwater is a private army. There's no way of escaping that fact. That's what they are. They have a worldwide reputation for being a military force that is hired by our government. Under questionable circumstances, certainly. But the bottom line with Blackwater, with any mercenary force, is what is going to happen with them eventually? Where are they going to go? What is going to happen to our nation if we have an armed mercenary force in it? Any of you up there history buffs, you'll know what happened to Italy in the 300 or 400 years of torment that they had with mercenaries roaming across their country. That's certainly a concern. We think that the presence of this organization and its affiliation with this this college is truly harmful to our democracy. Another thing that's of importance here, I guess, is the questionable way in which it's been selected for using the rifle range. There are, from some research that some people will probably present to you today, alternatives that either have not been fully explored or have been overlooked. And I feel that they should be looked into more carefully as an alternative to associating yourself with this group. As I said before, we also are facing up in Riverside County, where I live, a similar situation with a company called Procintu. A quarter of their staff are former Blackwater employees, and it's basically the same story up there. We are, they're playing from the same playbook. They seem to have this well organized and well orchestrated, and they seem convinced to intrude themselves into the public life here, which they should not. I would hope that you'd consider this relationship as potentially damaging to your students as well. Their influence on your students may actually be harmful, I think, to the educational process as well. So please give me your consideration, and I would appreciate some opportunity to address your board again, but I would hope that it would be at a time when you're considering whether or not to maintain this relationship. Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening. Again, here I am, trying to convince you to please cancel this contract. And I heard that you guys have asked, have requested information on the other ranges. And I know that you're still investigating. It seems to me that there is something that I believe is called malicious obedience. And malicious obedience is when somebody, like for example, let's say Dr. Chopra, you ask me to go and research whether the Miramar Sheriff Range is available to your students, and I go and do my job in a way that I will always come up with a no answer. Or I will always ask the questions in a way that I alienate them so that there is always something negative and no, we cannot do this because they are closed now or something happens. I want to offer, and I know it's probably difficult, that one of you go with somebody or with me. I'll be happy to give you a ride to either the Sheriff Range, to the San Diego Police Shooting Range, or any other of the other 6 places that are available to you to find out what really is possible to your students. I also heard that it seems that it's going to be very costly for your students if you go to the Sheriff Range. And I know for a fact, I spoke with, again, Sergeant Brian McCauley and with John Groff, who is a corporal, And they both assured me that it will cost $300 for a group of 33 or 32 students per session of 4 hours. And according to what I received from your school, from information, that wouldn't be $10,000 a year. It wouldn't be that expensive. In addition, something that I think you should question is, how is it possible that for 20 years your school was able to work with the sheriff range and there was no problem, and all of the sudden now there are all the problems, all the roadblocks, it's either closed for 3 months or, something is wrong here. And I think you should investigate yourselves, because I think as long as you send somebody else who has another agenda in their research, you're always going to get a negative answer. And as long as you send your students to XC, to Blackwater, you're ruining the reputation of this school. And I don't know if you heard, but in the news, again, Prince, the CEO and founder, two of their employees have signed an affidavit that he was involved in the killing of somebody who was actually going to talk about them in an investigation. So it's time for you guys to go and do the research yourself. If you keep asking somebody else to do it, you're always going to get something negative.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ray Lutz?
Thank you, Ray Lutz with citizensoversight.org. I'd like to speak today about the character of Blackwater. Recently, that is August 4th, so that's only like a week ago, we received the information from two of the John Doe number 1 and John Doe number 2. They were afraid to come forward and say that because of the danger. And they say that in these affidavits, which were sworn, that Eric Prince, who is the founder and owner of Blackwater, may have murdered or facilitated the murder of individuals who were cooperating with federal authorities investigating the company. The former employees allege that Prince, quote, used himself as a Christian crusader tasked with eliminating Muslims and the Islamic faith from the globe, and that Prince's companies encouraged and rewarded the destruction of Iraqi life. They also claim that that Blackwater was smuggling weapons into Iraq illegally and turning a profit by doing so, and using Prince's private planes. Prince and his top managers gave orders to destroy emails and other documents, including videotapes and other documents. I'd also, in addition to this, which is a very formal way of getting this out, and about time we've gotten this, have heard through the grapevine people who have come to me and said, I want to come forward, I want to get this out, but I don't know how to do it. And of course, I can't help him, because the guy who runs stopblackwater.net isn't going to be, that's me, right? Isn't going to, when I come forward and say, these guys are saying it, everyone will say, well, we know where you're coming from. But actually, when you look at this, we've got to take a look at the character of the company that you're working with. And this is not going to be the end of it. This is going to be an exploding thing. And we're actually here to try to defend this college from this bloodbath that you're going to go through if you don't get out of the way from this company. We've been through it. We know what the company is like. I would like to, therefore, encourage you again to reconsider and move over to some of the other options that have been enumerated by Veronica's research. I'd like to switch quickly to another topic. Sunrise PowerLink has been suggested as a solution for power, and you guys may have been asked to weigh in on it. We are airing on Cox Cable, which I think is also in this area, not much of it, on August 17th and September 7th, a film, an hour-long film about the Sunrise PowerLink and how it's a bad thing for the county, from the amounts of people that will be affected. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gabriel Conley.
I'm going to be really quick. I don't have a whole lot to say. I know that everybody here watches the news and knows these allegations towards Blackwater. I was here a few months ago when I think all but one of you decided to maybe possibly renegotiate the contract with these people rather than completely cut them off. I was shocked to come here and find out that they're not even up for discussion on the agenda. So I'm hoping that because more will come out. I mean, these people are despicable, and I just hope that once more information comes out about them, that you will seriously reconsider who you're letting on your campus and dealing with your kids. Thank you.
Michelle Prue.
Hi, I am also here to ask you to please cancel the contract with Blackwater. I was personally up at the San Diego Police Firing Range for my retiree meeting yesterday, and spoke at that time with the sergeant who actually does the scheduling, and was told that they were happy to take the Southwestern College students in. He referred me to Captain Jim Collins, who also is happens to be a full-time police captain in our homicide department with the city of San Diego, but also is an adjunct professor in your college teaching the firearms class. And I spoke with him today, and he said that he has been reporting back. They are working on a couple of minor blocks. One is that that range is not normally open on Saturday, but that could be arranged, and it was just an issue of Southwestern stepping forward and negotiating money to have someone staff it on Saturday for the hours that it is required, as well as setting up a place that they would hold the firearms safely, because students, as you know, don't take them home. So, these seem minor issues that to me should have been taken care of months ago. It seems to me, as Veronica said, that you're not getting anything positive from your staff to actually having any kind of a can-do attitude of, let's just get this fixed. It just is not that complicated, or it doesn't seem to be. I also had numbers that were given at Miramar College, and it didn't seem to come anywhere near. I understand you're getting numbers of $10,000, and it shouldn't be anywhere near that. You all should have received a copy of El Latino. On page 6, you'll see the article that was written about Southwestern College, and this is not doing your public image any good. Please rescind that contract.
Ann Watson.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Ann Weston from Menifee, and with a group called CAPA, Citizens Against Private Armies. And when I came in, I saw the sign. I've never been down here before, to benefit the student. And really does a place like Blackwater benefit the student or the school? Precinct-2, the one that we have up in Menifee, California, is called Precinct-2, which means gird for battle, prepare for war, and is a Blackwater-like facility located in rural land. 1/4 of their staff asks for is Blackwater. When they build on the 200 acres of private land owned by John Shelby family, they will be instructing, for example, prisoner handling, which is very distasteful to me. They will be having outside live fire, even though it's not allowed, plus simulated bombs, mortar, grenades, landmines, etc. None of this is allowed in their contract, but the Board of Supervisors in Riverside approved it. This was not mentioned to the public, but it's in all the public records. And when they talked about Precinct-2, they have never mentioned any of this. They were given, it has something to say about their character. They were given a public use permit and will be situated next to an established church retreat, which has been there for 20 years, and 1/4 mile from a school, which is not allowed. They lied to get the CEQA. For safety, no cement wall is around the establishment, and students or people can go up and then walk down into it on the other side. If my children were attending a school that approved of a Blackwater-like facility that teaches what they believe is to break and kill instead of like the police who believe to fix and help, I would be horrified. And I would hope that all of you would reconsider and realize that it's not something good for your image. Students should be involved in programs that were mentioned earlier that help to fix the world instead of trying to break it apart and just because of profit. No education system should be involved with a fringe group like Blackwater or Presumptive. And again, I go back to the benefit of the student. I don't believe it benefits the student or the school. And thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Karina Soto.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to speak on behalf of the counselors and librarians of Southwestern College. I don't know if you're aware, but we recently experienced a unilateral change in our contract. As you may be aware, OSHA requires 2 10-minute paid breaks per 4 hours of work and then an additional 1/2 hour of an unpaid break. This is required by law for almost every single employee in the state of California. However, counselors and librarians are exempt from this law because we fall under the education code. However, recognizing that people do need breaks, especially people who spend all day working one-on-one with students, Southwestern College had provided a 1/2 hour paid break to counselors and librarians. This practice had been in place for the first 20 years I have been here. I'm about to start my second 20, so excited about that. However, by taking away these breaks, part of what's going on is the district is overlooking that you have been making money on us because we do teach 3-unit GE transferable courses. However, we only get paid 6 hours for every 9 hours that we teach. We're losing 3 hours of pay every single week. However, we've all been willing to overlook that because our PD classes are really important to student success, and we've been willing to let that slide. Counselors and librarians more than make up for the extra paid 10 minutes of break that you've been giving us over these years because we also speak a foreign language, as most of the employees on this campus do. Speaking a foreign language is not required in any of our contracts, yet everybody's doing it, and this is a marketable skill that most people and most employees in the state of California get paid for. Nobody's asking that these things get paid for at this point in time because we've been all been willing to kind of grease each other's palms in the greater good of students. So counselors and librarians are willing to go with the flow and to make a contribution. We're willing to lose 3 hours of pay per week for the whole semester. We're able to provide freely of our marketable foreign language and diversity and cultural skills, but we just don't think that we should have to be hungry and thirsty too. So please give us back our breaks because you guys are making money on them. It's a win-win situation for all of us when we have our extra 10 minutes of paid break that you've been giving us for the past 20 years. Okay? Good 20 years, the first 20, let's have another good 20. Thank you.
That concludes our oral communications for this evening. Now we'll go into our presentations, and we have a presentation, accountability reporting for community colleges, and our presenter is Dr. Vice President for Academic Affairs.
In Spanish, I didn't get it. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. Back in February, I had given you the 2008 accountability report. So this evening, I will give you the 2009 accountability report per the directions of the Chancellor's Office that they're supposed to be this presented annually and the interaction with the board. The first thing you'll see up there will be the agenda. We have the ARC history and process, the performance indicator results, and the action plans for these indicators that I'll speak about also. The first thing you have up there is the Partnership for Excellence. This happened around 1999, and basically it was just a joint effort with the Chancellor's Office and the community colleges in the state of California to develop an allegiance and an obligation towards developing indicators for encouraging student success in the state of California, the community colleges. 2004, 2005, they made it official with the AB 1417, and that was the creation of the ARC report and accountability reporting, which is what we have today. This has been in effect for 3 years, and as a result of this AB 1417. The metrics that are used for this, that are derived there on the screen, are developed by the Chancellor's Office and the R&P group, which is traditionally known as the Research and Planning Group. Again, this is the 3rd year of the ARC report based upon the, again, the legislation AB 1417. What does this report do? Number one, it does use MIS data submitted annually to the Chancellor's Office. And from there, they take those data and create these performance indicators, giving us some sort of insight about how we are performing in those areas. It also provides outcome information statewide and by school. What the report does not do: the report does not rank colleges. The report does not compare one college against another, and it is not tied to any funding mechanism yet. I understand that this will take place, but it is not tied to any funding mechanism yet. The next page, you have the actual indicators. You have 7 of those, and you can see over the last 3 years, you can see the trends. I'd be reminded that's exactly what you do want to look at, is not so much the years, but to look at the trends over time. We have 7 of those there. Am I in a position now? Does anybody have any questions about those, or are you going to wait till the end, or? Okay. One of the things that is always asked as a result of looking at the outcomes of those 7 indicators is, what are you doing as a result of those outcomes? And so what I was able to do was to contact the faculty and the appropriate deans and find out what we're doing in those different areas. After the indicators, you will see an action plan for ESL and numerous line items there, numerous bullets that are indicating the intervention gestures by the faculty and by the deans to work in the areas of improvement for ESL and credit and non-credit, for the improvement and for success and completion rates.
Dr. Meadows, we
Yes.
have a question. Dr. Dominguez would like a question.
Dr. Meadows, if I recall correctly, when we had this report last year,
Correct.
It came up that there was that erroneous information had been sent to the Chancellor's Office relevant to the basic skills improvement part of it. So that would have been, since this is a 3-year process, that would have been year 2. And I see under that category, looking at this chart, that you have 36.8, with that number being reflecting information that was incorrect.
Correct.
Okay, so we look at year 3 is 36.5. So I'm a little bit confused. You have basically the same number. Did you submit correct information this time?
Well, Trustee Dominguez, I apologize. What I had said the last night was not inaccurate information, but what has been taking place the last 6 months, and something that I even got an email today, is that the Chancellor's Office is in the process of working on the coding. It's called CB21 and CB8. And what has taken place both here at our locale and throughout the state has been coding issues with the classes. And so what had transpired from this year 2 into year 3 was that the ESL faculty did indeed meet with the MIS director, and they did correct coding, and as a result you see these new numbers. So it wasn't inaccurate information, it was miscoded information.
So the information is now correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, the number didn't change from
Well,
miscoding to correct coding.
What do you,
Well, you've got 36.8 and 36.5, basically the same number from years 2 to year 3.
That's correct. But if I recall, the numbers that were presented back in February were not this high. They were not like this. They were much lower. And that's why we've seen such a leap.
Oh, I don't remember those numbers. So that, these are not,
I'm sorry if I could. It was ESL that was miscoded, not basic skills.
Oh.
And the numbers were in the range of 14%-ish, and they've now gone to the 50% as a result of that change.
no, I distinctly remember I had some sort of an issue with the basic skills, and it's been so long that I just don't recall, but, so this is why I brought it up in this section. Now, with regard to the numbers, these are percentages?
Yes, sir.
Percentages of students being successful, is that what that number is?
Well, it depends on, each one has a different definition. If you give me the one you're speaking, I can give you the
Basic skills.
The basic skill success?
Improvement, yeah.
Or improvement.
Improvement.
Okay? Basic skill improvement is based upon math and English classes for a person who takes an initial math or English credit class and then follows up and completes another class in that area. So if somebody takes an English class and they complete that class, if they take another class of a higher order and complete it, that's an improvement rate.
So in other words, our kids aren't really, I mean, you've got 36% here, your highest percent being 77 on vocational. So we don't have a lot of our students who take math or English and move forward to a higher math or English class.
Well, what happens, again, they're completing one level, and when they're going up to the second level, they are completing, but yes, you're right. The end numbers would indicate we don't have a large cohort of those. That's correct.
Can somebody on staff answer this question? I'm just assuming that these kids, these basic skill classes are somewhat of an indicator of students that go on to higher education. Is that kind of a wrong path? It's probably not the only one, but certainly one of them.
Okay.
So my question is then, are we having not very many of our students go on to institutions of higher learning, or because if the problem is that we don't provide these skills for them to be able to be successful at a higher level, then there's something wrong here. So.
Yeah, and now Dr. Torres Campos is a researcher now. She was going to supplement some of these technical questions. She'll be able to help any in this response.
Thank you. I did want to mention that actually the state average for these numbers is about 30%. So we're not unlike most of the colleges across the state. Is that a good thing? No, probably not. Could we do better? Absolutely. But I just do want to keep in perspective that we're not unlike the rest of the community colleges across the state. It is a measure of whether or not our students continue into college level courses. So absolutely, this is a focus, and it's a focus across the state. One of the measures of that is the Basic Skills Initiative and the funding that we've received in order to improve our basic skills courses. So I agree, we have a concern here, but it is something that we're looking at. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, I'm actually quite appreciative of that. We have someone who can provide us with some relevant data here, so that we know how we're doing. Is there a conflict in your presentation? At the beginning, didn't you say that there was no comparisons between colleges, and now you said there was one?
There's no comparison across colleges. That's the college average, is all that is.
There are cohorts. But we can compare, somebody said there were cohorts, these groups to other colleges?
No.
Yes or no? We'll have a yes or no?
We have peer groups, which is the best we can do. They're not what we would always normally consider as our comparison colleges, because they're based off of the things beyond the college's control that affect these numbers. And so while we might want to look to a college that has a similar enrollment rate as we do, similar head count, similar FTES, that might not be the case because we're looking at external factors that impact these issues. So comparisons in terms of apples to apples, not always. Groups and cohorts that we can see whether or not we're at the top of the group, at the average, at the bottom of the group, that we can do.
Well, I take a little bit of concern to your statement that we are in line with, you said 30% for other colleges. So it just sounds like you contradicted yourself again.
The 30% is the state average. So if you take all of the improvements rates across all of the colleges, add them up and divide by all the
Please
colleges.
don't think I'm trying to be difficult. What I want to get my hands on is where, if these numbers are correct, how are we doing? And you know, because this is important to me, you know, for our students to move forward. And so if this is, I'm trying to get a sense of whether this is an acceptable number. It's not acceptable just because everybody else is doing it, but it certainly falls within a range for some reason. And if not, then we need some answers as to why this number is too low.
Right. And Trustee Dominguez, I had called up to the Chancellor's office to ask that very same question. And the answer is that as this is in growing pains, this accountability report, even though the legislators have said what we're supposed to do, we are having troubles with the coding. This is one issue. And as a result, sir, there is internal unreliability. There's not reliability many times every year and that's why it becomes very difficult. So they have admitted to that. Validity may be intact, but reliability is not at this point.
Yes, another question from Ms. Mississippi. Saucedo.
I think I share Trustee Dominguez's concerns. And for me, it's not so much what the Chancellor is the coding or not coding, or whether we're aligned to the other community colleges. I think my focus is what is it that we are doing here as an institution? What is it that we're doing instructional-wise, where we have looked at these numbers, because I don't believe that the numbers may be off by that much. So obviously, it's a very low number. So it really, I think the pertinent question is, what is it that we are doing in the instructional side to be able to go ahead and address some of these dismal numbers that are before us? And that is an issue that I know we tried to address it along this time, and we've been working at. There's a lot of, multiple factors, I'm sure, but I think what it comes down to is setting a plan for this district and really taking a look at the numbers and implementing a program where we may be able to increase these numbers. Because what I see is, let's say for the third year, that we've actually gone down with the 36.5, but out of how many numbers? What numbers are we talking about? 36.5 of what?
I don't believe we don't have a number for that. I mean, in other words, I'll admit, I remember when Trustee Dominguez asked, what was a 2 percentage point below, how many students was that? And are we able to define that?
I can pull the data from the data on demand system, but it does require me to create all of the same analyses that were done by the state RP group and the state chancellor's office. It can be done, we can look at it, it would be a very time-consuming project. And my concern is that the rest of the presentation does talk about what instruction is doing with regard to.
Yeah, there is an action plan, I saw that.
Right. But I mean, it's about the numbers. I mean, we're giving a percentage, but it's like, how many numbers are we working?
Yeah, I agree with you, Trustee Saucedo. Yes, it's probably a lot of work, but why don't we know? What's wrong with finding out precisely for Southwestern College, if you have the data, what the real numbers are, what we're talking about here? So that, you put an action plan, it's just, to me, it's like just global. I'd like to see some specifics and target, some real targets. And maybe even to cohorts of kids, students that come in and track them and that kind of thing to see if we can help.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Perhaps, at least for me, it would be helpful to see the entire presentation so we can put discussions in context and be able to get at least more responsive answers to be able to understand given the entire information.
Okay, thank you. All right, continue.
Okay, well, we have the ESL there. Again, this is not exhaustive. These are some of the line items that was reported to me from the deans and the faculty what it is they're doing with ESL. Everything from assessment to tutoring to contextualizing basic skills. The second page, you have the math interventions. We have walk-in tutoring. We have clickers. I don't know if you're aware of what clickers are, but what it does is, I see Chris shaking his head affirmatively. It's in the classroom, and they use this to help respond in the class. And the modus operandi for that is to engage students in participatory learning. We have new final workshops for the class. We also have Camtasia. You're asking what that is? We're able to now film lectures, and the kids are able to translate these Camtasias, and we provide videos for these lectures, and if they're unable to attend the lecture in their mobile devices or on our PCs, they can revisit these lectures again. So it's not a lost cause. That is for math. Third, we have the action plans for English. It's a portfolio assessment. I would only translate by saying that what you're doing with portfolios, you're collecting a body of work from day one to the end, and so the student and the teacher are able to look at the development or the progress from day one to day two of their work. Learning communities, those are here existent on the campus, and those are literally cohorts of students where they link 2 or 3 classes together, and the premise behind this is that the students who have familiarity with those that are studying with develops community, develops engagement, develops familiarity, and believe it or not, they're more likely to stay in school because of that. We are developing online versions of the English 71. Basic skills. That is the BSI grant that we received. These are some of the gestures that are involved with the proposals and for the large intervention group that we work with. But we have target counseling services. We're assessing learning styles. Just recently this summer, we hired 5 new